Hey guys, today we are revisiting chocolate chip cookies. Now that I've started actually weighing my ingredients when I bake, then I figured I would go ahead and throw the weighed out recipe at you. So we are going to start off with our large bowl, place it on the scale, and into that I'm going to drop 2 sticks of butter. Now for my first weighed ingredient, I'm going to make sure that my scale is on and that I'm reading in ounces. This particular scale measures to the 10th. So all I have to do now is start adding sugar until it shows 11 ounces. Perfect. Before I add my next ingredient, I'm going to zero out my scale. And because this is a small quantity, it's only 2 ounces of white sugar, I'm going to use a spoon to dose it out into my bowl so that I don't overfill it. And I'm going to set this aside so that the butter has time to start softening up a little bit while I mix the rest of my ingredients. Next up are my dry ingredients. So I'm starting off with 4.4 ounces of oats, which I'm then going to blend up in the Ninja while I measure out the rest of my flours. So first I want to get the right amount of oats. So I've got 4.4 ounces of oats in the Ninja, and I'm going to blend those up while I measure out 5 ounces of my gluten-free all-purpose flour, 2.8 ounces of my brown rice flour, and 0.8 ounces of coconut flour. And by now my oats are coarsely ground, so I've got some that are basically whole and a few that have basically been pulverized to a powder. So that's going to give me a really great texture for my cookies. Generally when baking desserts you want, well, a decent amount of salt just to counterbalance the sweetness, because you're not going to make it salty, but you will add just enough where it'll taste extra sweet by contrast. So for this particular recipe, I use 1 1/4 teaspoons of salt. Then we need to add our leaveners. So I've got 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. And then generally for my cookie recipes, I do go ahead and add xanthan gum just to hold it together since it is gluten-free. So I'm adding 1 teaspoon of xanthan. And whisk your dry ingredients to combine. Break up any lumps in the flour. So I've got my butter and my sugar here. The butter should have softened up a little bit by now. So I'm going to beat them together in a process called creaming. And first of all I want to break up the butter, and then I want to start incorporating the sugar, and then I should actually start whipping it up just a little bit until it lightens in color. Next up I need to add 2 eggs, remembering to crack on a flat surface, not on the edge of the bowl. Plus 1 1/2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And I'm going to beat my creamed mixture, eggs, and vanilla together until uniform. Finally, I'm going to add my dry ingredients in 3 additions and mix it all together each time until fully incorporated. And my base dough is ready. At this point I can add pretty much any type of add-ins. Today though I'm just doing classic chocolate chip. You could also add pecans, pistachios, white chocolate chips, and if you wanted to make a chocolate cookie then you could swap a portion of the flour for cocoa powder. You don't want to just add cocoa powder because that will dry out your cookie. And again, this has a large enough quantity for me to measure by weight, and I'm looking for 12 ounces. And I'm going to mix this all together. Finally, the dough needs to chill for about an hour, so I'm going to wrap it up in plastic and shape it into a log. And wrap the other end. Fold down to the seam. Smooth out, and voila, perfectly refrigeratable, a perfect log ready for refrigeration. So my dough's been chilling and I just pulled it out. I'm I'm using a disher this time. Back when I sold cookies, I actually used to use the scale to get them exactly right. I've already lined my baking sheets with parchment, so I'm just dividing out the dough 12 per sheet. Now a good portion of this dough is actually just butter, which has a very low melting point. So because I live in Florida and because this is a kitchen where it tends to get a little warm, then I like to store my finished sheets in the freezer before popping them into the oven. Okay, so I've just put my cookies into a 355-degree oven. Your oven might be set anywhere between 335 and 365, just because of variations in ovens. I'm going to bake these about 12 or so minutes, and then I'm going to rotate the trays top to bottom and turn them around front to back, and then bake another 8 or so minutes. Alright, it's time to pull my first 2 trays out. These look perfect. And I'm going to let these cool on the tray for the first couple minutes before transferring them to a cooling rack. Of course, that's because while they're hot, they're still really soft. So letting them cool down a few degrees will help them build the structure they need to transfer without breaking. I hope you guys enjoy getting to make these at home yourselves. Trust me, it is well worth it. Because, honestly, I swear, after years and years and years of trying to perfect the chocolate chip cookie, it was only after I went gluten-free and developed this recipe that I think I finally nailed it. So good. So I'm going to go have a couple more. I hope you guys will check out the blog post for more tips and tricks on this recipe. The link is down in the description below. And I'll see you guys next time on the Deglutenizer.